G'day again everybody, Rauderberg69 here from the Blind Gaming Club. Just about to do the second part in the Eurofly 3 beta training flights, which today will be in the Piper Arrow, which is the second training plane in the 9 training planes that you have to do before you can get into the game. So today we'll be going over lots of things in this new plane. We've already done the Cessna 152, which was the first in the training videos. So we'll get into the game and start. Now just remember, I've already trained for this plane, so I will actually be doing a practice flight, but I am going to use the same airports that you have to use to do your training flights. So I will be picking it slightly different. Where you'll be going into the training, I'll be actually going into the practice. So I'll do that now.
Training.
Enter. Training dialog. Practice flights combo box. 1.
So here, instead of you doing practice, you would go to the training, but I'm training for a different plane, so I'm just going to arrow down and get into the Piper Arrow.
Beechcraft. Cessna C1. Piper Arrow. Enter. Airport selection. Airport selection dialog. Select an airport combo box. Abu Dhabi Buhasa left paren Alma right paren.
Sorry. Now I'll choose an airport, and I'm going back to Slovakia for this one because I know where the airports are, and they're reasonably close together to do a good quick flight.
S. St. Helena Lab. Samoa. Samoa. Saudi Arabia. 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 Senegal. Serbia. Bel. Serbia. Smetter. Serbia. 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 Slovakia. Dubo. Slovakia. Holic left. Slovakia. Jesna left. Slovakia. Kamenigan Nad. Slovakia. Lusanek left. Slovakia. Male Belis. Slovakia. Martin left. Slovakia. Nitra left. Paran L. Slovakia. Novzamki left. Paran L's ENZ right. Paran. Enter.
Okay.
Euro 270.
Steering controls ready.
I know this is one of the airports that you use. Just wait for that to finish.
Alpha.
Okay, that's a setting. You can set that up to be shorter than that. I've got it set to 10 seconds, I think, before it stops. But the edge of the runway and all that, that won't stop beeping the sensor one. You'll have to turn the sensor off if that annoys you. But okay, so just a quick thing again. I'm using a program called Voice Attack to do voice commands to do the things that I'm doing. So you will have to find out what the keystrokes are and everything yourself because mine are programmed in. And I'm not going to tell you what the keys are if I don't know what they are because I don't want to make things more confusing. I also use an Xbox controller to control my plane in the air and stuff like that. A lot of stuff I do with the keys, but most of the stuff when I'm flying I do with the controller. I use the sticks to left and right to fly the plane. I also use the stick up and down from the right stick, and there's lots of buttons that do different things. I choke the engines and things like that. So we'll go over that as we're going. So we'll get started now, and I have to get the plane started and get the computer running before we can go any further. So we'll do that now. Start up.
Computer on. Strobe
Taxi
lights
lights
on.
on.
Landing radio on.
Primary startup complete. Please connect to nearest tower, then complete your flight plan, then complete next checklist using command, checklist 2. Press 9 for radio frequency.
That voice you just heard is part of my voice attack. That's not part of the game. So just so you're aware of that. Now I've got to press 9 to find out the radio frequency of this airport.
9. Combo box. Novzamki approach control 122.6.
Okay.
Escape. Edit.
Set radio frequency.
Set frequency 122 127. Set 6. Novzamki approach control. Edit.
SK603. We welcome you to our airport.
Okay, that stops the radio hiss so we can actually talk. That other buzzing sound you can hear is the battery running in the plane to get everything running. So first thing we'll do is check our fuel.
100 liters.
And which I was expecting. So we're going to put some fuel in so we can fly the plane. So you will have to find the key to do that. I'm just going to do this quickly and then we'll go over a few more things that we went over in the first one, but just as a refresher. Refuel now, please.
Control E. Set fuel amount. Edit. 500. 500. Enter. Edit.
Just remember, in the small planes, you have to fuel them up. In the larger planes, you have to radio the tower. They'll send out a fuel truck and they'll do it for you. So, but we'll check our fuel again.
600 liters.
Right, we've got 600 litres. That should be more than enough. We're only flying about 70 or 80 kilometres today, so I just like to do that. But okay, so what we're going to go over first is the very important things like the help keys to get you acquainted with your new plane and things like that. So firstly, you might want to just look at your plane specifications, as this is the second plane and it is a little bit different to the first plane. So namely, the stall speeds are different, your flaps are different, your flap settings for takeoff and landing. I think they're actually the same. I think flaps have to be set to 1 for landing and flaps have to be set to 2. Flaps have to be set to 1 for takeoff and for 2 for landing. But the speeds are different. So we'll just go over that now quickly. And to bring up your plane properties is Control and Enter.
Control Enter. Combo box. Pilot Roderberg 69 left paren 1 right
so
paren.
we'll just quickly go through some of the specs. We won't go through most of them.
SKOTF Piper Arrow. Transport plane propeller plane left paren 1 right paren dash borrowed. Certified. Condition what last system. Number of seats: 4. Number of passengers: 0. Wingspan: 9 meters. Length: 7 meters. Bass weight: 1 t. Current weight: 1.4 t. Cruising speed: 277 kmph.
Goes a little bit faster than the Cessna.
Maximum cruising range: 1,679 km. Maximum cruising altitude: flap positions: 0/3.
So it's got 3, the same as the Cessna.
Bass takeoff speed: 120 kmph.
Okay, so the base takeoff speed in this plane is 120 kilometers an hour.
Bass landing speed: 119 kmph.
Pretty much the same for the landing, but 119, but that doesn't really matter because I'll go below that. I'll get closer to the stall speed, so I land faster.
Stall speed: 139 kmph.
Okay, so that is very important, the stall speed, because you never go to that speed or below it. At 139 kilometers or below, you will fall out of the sky, so if you're not very high, you'll hit the ground really quickly. So that's really important. Now, as you saw, the takeoff speed is 120, so we will definitely need to set the flaps to 1 to rectify that. I'll check the flap settings in a moment, but we'll just go over the minimum runway length and things like that.
Current takeoff speed: 120 kmph. Nose angle when taking off: 6-9-12.
So that's your takeoff angle, 6 or 9 or 12 degrees. I usually do it at 10 or 12, but 10 most of the time, which is just shift down arrow once. That's the easiest way to take off when you're taking off.
Minimum flap position when taking off: 1.
Okay, so yep, minimum takeoff flaps has to be 1.
Minimum takeoff runway length: 377 meters.
Oh, it only needs a short runway to take off, 377.
Current landing speed: 119 kmph. Minimum flap position when landing: 3.
Oh, so there you go, I was incorrect. Minimum flaps is 3, so you've got to set it to the full flaps to land.
Minimum landing runway length: 408 meters.
And the minimum runway length is 408. So it takes off quicker than it lands, which is strange because it's normally the other way around, but that's fine.
Fuel tank capacity: 1,813
But that's about all we
meters.
need in there. I'll tab across to the
Combo box. Technical data.
technical data, which has the stall speed. So we'll check what the stall speed changes to when we put the flaps to 1.
Stall speeds: flaps 0: 139 kmph.
So we know with no flaps it's 139.
Flaps 1: 129 kmph.
So with the flaps set at 1, it's 129. But it says our minimum takeoff is 120. But because at flaps 1 it's 129, you wouldn't take off until you're above 129 kilometers an hour, because that's your stall speed with flaps set to 1. Otherwise you won't get off the ground anyway. So, and if you are off the ground, you might crash quick. So definitely don't try taking off unless you want to set your flaps to 2, which we're about to hear what that says.
Flaps 2: 119 kmph.
So flaps at 2 is 119. So if you set it that, you could take off at 120. But it says the minimum's 1, so that's up to you.
Flaps 3: 109 kmph.
And flaps at 3 is 109, which is your landing speed. So when I land, I will be slowing down to between 111 and 110. I'll be just above the stall speed, so when you land, it lands a lot quicker. It stalls and lands quicker. Okay, so that's all that. So now I'll quickly show you the help files.
Escape. Edit.
Okay, so remember the help is Alt-H for Harry.
3,768 kilometers. Celtic Sea, Asia, Kazakhstan, 4 hours, 25
Alright,
minutes.
I press Control-H then.
Help mode on. Tree view.
Alt-H, sorry. Okay, so remember this tree view is all your keys. So
Level 0. Map. Plane left. Paren 34 right.
You can
Paren.
go through
Closed. Plane left.
and-
Paren. B dash well on. F dash report the currently set radio frequency. Control plus backspace dash sensor on slash off. Control plus B dash fasten slash unfasten the seatbelt. Control plus E dash refuel. Control plus F dash extend slash retract the flaps. Control plus K dash while on the ground. Report the GPS latitude semicolon while Control plus L dash while on the ground.
So
Report
you
the
can
GPS
check all
longitude
these
semicolon while
keys.
airborne.
These are
Call for the flight
all your
attendant.
keys for the plane and all that sort of stuff. So, but I'm just want to show you the checklist that you can do. So if you tab,
Search edit.
it takes you to search.
Results combo box.
Results of search, and then the next one is sounds.
Keystroke meaning. Read only edit.
Oh,
Less not
sorry,
separator.
keystroke meanings. You can actually press keys and it'll tell you what they are.
Sound overview combo box. Automatic
The
operation
next one is
completed.
the sound overview. If you don't know what a sound means, just check it here.
Edit. Contains
And
text.
this is the one that says edit contains text. This is your checklist. You need to go through this whenever you get a new plane, just in case you have new things you need to turn on. So I'm just going to arrow down and go through these reasonably quickly.
Get to know the properties of your current airport. Vertical bar shift plus enter.
So that's the same.
Find out how many pilots there currently are at your airport. Vertical bar control plus shift plus enter.
That's the same. But you just want to
Turn
go...
on the battery. Vertical bar control plus shift plus B.
Okay, this is where we get on to turning on things and doing things in order. So first thing you've got to do is turn on the battery. The same as... Basically, this is the same procedure in every plane that you have.
Turn on the lights. Vertical bar shift plus S. Shift plus K. Shift plus D. Shift plus L.
Which you heard when mine started up, it done all that, but I didn't have to press the keys. I used Voice Attack. Again, Voice Attack is a very good program, but not very accessible. I think it's $10 US to buy, but you will need sighted help to set it up. You can set up voice commands to switch between the profiles. I have a different profile for every plane, so you can do that. Once it's set up, it's good. You can do it all by voice, and it does more than just plays games. You can use it to do stuff on your computer as well. It is very difficult to set up, that's all.
Turn on the on dashboard computer. Vertical bar control plus shift plus K.
But yeah, so always go through this checklist and it'll tell you the new things, because when you get into category 2 planes, there's a lot more stuff to do. So always go through that checklist. Remember, Alt-H, tab across a few times until you find it, and then arrow through and find everything. It'll tell you all the new stuff you need to turn. So okay, we'll get out of there
Edit.
and we'll get set up for this flight. So now we'll pick an airport to fly to and we'll do a flight plan just like we did in the Cessna. So again, to bring up the airports in a list from the current airport you're in till the furthest is Control F8.
Combo box. Slovakia Nov Zamki dash L's ENZ left. Paren 0 kilometers right. Paren.
Right, so that's the airport we're at, and then we'll just arrow down until we find the airport we're going to fly to, which I think is about 78 kilometers away.
Slovakia Sierra dash L's ESY left. Paren 11 kilometers 77 right. 0 minutes right. Slovakia Nitra dash L's ENI left. Paren 34 kilometers 82 right. 2 minutes right. Paren. Slovakia Mail Belis slash Partisans dash L's EPT left. Paren 72 kilometers 98 right. 5 minutes right. Paren.
Okay, this is the airport we're going to go to. It's probably not one that's normally in the list of the airports you can fly, but I couldn't find another airport that had one runway, so I'm just going to use this one for the landing. But this airport we're taking off from has the single runway. So okay, so again, I'm going to select this airport as my destination, so this will add it to my computer once I press the spacebar, and then I don't have to choose the airport as I'm adding it to the flight plan, because it's already in the computer. It'll already be highlighted in the flight plan. So we'll select it by adding it to the plan, or to the computer, sorry.
Space destination set. Edit.
Okay, so that's now our current destination. So let's contact the radio tower and create a flight plan. So F1, F for Freddy 1, will activate the tower.
Combo box. Enter dash asking for permission to enter the runway.
There's a few new things in here which we'll go over as we get to
Plan
them.
dash I want to create a flight plan.
There's the one we want. We want to create a flight plan, so we'll highlight that and press enter.
Enter. Call sign read only edit. SKOTF
Okay,
603.
again, that's our call sign, and we just tab through.
Select destination combo box. Slovakia Mail Belis slash Partisans dash L's
Right.
EPT.
Now, because it's already in the computer, it's already selected as our destination. So you can still change this and arrow through, but right now that's set as our destination in the computer. So that's also set to the direction we're going to travel and everything. So that's selected, so we'll tab to the next section.
Filter edit.
Filter, that's if you want to type in the name of an airport. If you know the name of it and you can't find it in the list, or it's too far down the list, you just type that in there.
Flight description edit.
Flight description, again, just type in there whatever you want. It does show on the website, so you can write funny things in there, or you can just write exactly what you're doing, where you're flying from, where you're flying to. It shows on the website, and people can look you up when they're on the website.
Requesting combo box. Navigated flight.
Okay, requesting, this is the type of flight. You've only got two at the moment, navigated or direct. I'm going to choose direct, but you don't always get it. But right now the navigated flights aren't working correctly in the beta version. So I fly direct anyway, and I suggest you do it. Even if they try and force you to, just fly direct to the airport you're going to. So we'll arrow down to direct.
Direct flight.
And we'll tab to get the flight running.
Request flight button.
Right, so I'm going to request the flight and get the tower to tell me if it's been set.
Enter. Edit.
SK603. Flight plan accepted. Set transponder to 5782.
Okay, so he's told me my plan's accepted and I can do it direct. And then he's giving me a transponder number. Now you need to set that into your transponder, so you need to turn your transponder on and add it. If you've forgotten the number, you can press the space bar and it will tell it to you again. It just repeats the previous radio message. So I didn't really listen to the number, so I'm going to listen to it again. Then I'm going to tell it and type it into my transponder.
Space.
SK603. Flight plan accepted. Set transponder to 5782.
Set transponder. Nope, it's not on. Transponder on.
Transponder on.
Set transponder.
Set transponder code. Set transponder code edit. 6 6 5 7 8 2 5782. Enter. Edit.
Okay, that's what they use in the real flights. That's what they use to track you and see what plane you are. So you'll have a little beacon on their radar which says that that's your transponder number, or squawk as they use in other games. So they know exactly where you're going, and it gives them your flight plan as well. So we're set up for that. I'm now going to get the plane running and get it set up for the flight. You can do things before you get to the runway. I like to do some things like setting the flaps and everything so I don't forget them. And then we'll get our runway designation because it's a little bit different in this one. So let me start the plane first. Final startup.
Page up. Page down. Blank.
Temperature control on. Stall indication on. TCAS on. Sensor on.
Final startup complete. If you need to collect passengers, use the command passenger checklist. If no passengers, use command taxi checklist or takeoff procedure. Now please set cabin temperature.
Set temperature. Set temperature combo box. 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. Enter.
Temperature
Edit.
set.
Okay, all that talking again is from my voice attack. It's to tell me to do checklists, which I'm not going to because I'm a bit ahead of that at the moment, and we're not going to for this recording. But that's all part of voice attack. You won't get that in the game, but you do have to set your temperature, otherwise you may freeze your passengers when you actually get passengers. So I set it to 21, nice comfy temperature. So the plane's now running and we're ready to go. So in the Cessna you were only taking off in a field or a paddock, so you didn't have to get a runway assignment. But in the Piper, the level 2 of the level 1 planes, you are now got a single runway and you need to get runway assignment because there is 2 ends of the runway. So you need to find out which end you need to take off at, so you can then find out where you have to tack. So I'm going to contact the tower and get a runway assignment.
Combo box. Enter dash asking for permission to enter the runway.
Now you don't get permission to enter the runway until you're getting close to it, or technically you probably are meant to stop on the taxiway before you get to the runway, to enter runway, but I do it on the way out there. So maybe they're going to change that when the game's in full release, I don't know, but we don't need that yet. So let's go until we find runway.
Plan dash I want to change the flight plan. Repair dash I need repairs. Runway dash asking for runway assignment.
Okay, there it is, runway, asking for runway assignment. So we'll get our runway.
Enter. Edit.
SK603. You've been assigned runway 34. You can taxi.
Okay, so we've been assigned runway 34. Now, this is a little bit different than the field where you could take off in any direction. You have to use that 3-4 as your direction of the runway. So basically, it's just like the altitudes and things like that. When they tell you to climb to 8.5, you climb to 850. So the runways are the same. Just add a 0 onto the end. So runway 34 is at an angle of 340 degrees. So when you're taking off, you're going to be lining up on the runway at 340 degrees when you turn onto it, and that will keep you straight on the runway all the way down it. Now I'm going to check the runway, how to get to that runway in a moment, and we'll see what the other end of the runway is, which should be like, I'm not even going to guess, but it's basically 180 degrees the opposite. So we'll just go through that. So now I've got to find out where that is to taxi to. So we're going to bring up the airport properties, which is the airport we're currently at, which is Shift Enter.
Shift enter. Combo box. Pilot Roderberg 69 left paren 1 right paren.
Right, so this is the airport we're at. We're going to scroll through it until we find the runway that we've got to take off on. Now this has only got one runway, so it's quite easy.
SKOTF Piper Arrow left paren 1 LZNZ-no Zemke. Public without maintenance services left height above sea level 112 meters. Difficulty :1. Approach control :122.6. Airport description : runways 1.
See, it's got one runway.
Runway 3416 left paren 1000 meters
So
right paren.
16 is the opposite end, so to get the degrees for that, if you were told to take off from runway 16, is just add a 0, makes it 160 degrees. So when you're turning onto the runway from the taxiway, you turn to 160 degrees and then stop and keep that straight line for takeoff. So now we've got to find out how we get to runway 34 along the taxiways to the airport. So let's just scroll down.
Entrance 34:alpha-100, 550.
Okay, so this runway is straight off Alpha, which is directly ahead of us, which when you start moving, you will hear that. Now, there are lots of taxiways, and the bigger the airport, the more taxiways it has. Like, you have Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, Delta, Echo, Foxtrot, Tango, Yankee. There's lots of them. Now, they all are different angles, but all you have to remember is the taxiways, unlike the runways, always run either north-south or east-west. They always run that direction. The only things that run off those angles are the runways themselves. So when I'm traveling along Alpha, I will be traveling to the
West.
So that's the direction I'm facing now. So I'll be traveling west at 270 degrees. When I get to the runway, I need to turn to the right to go up in degrees until I get to 340. Then I will go onto the runway, stop and get ready to take off. So I hope that makes sense, and I hope it's easy to understand. So if I had to go to runway 16, that's slightly different. I'd have to go on another taxiway. So I'll just show you what that is, and then I'll try and do a quick explanation. So this is for runway 16, if I was assigned that.
Entrance 16:Alpha Romeo Echo-1040, 207.
Okay, so that said I have to go Alpha, Romeo, Echo.
Entrance 16:Alpha Romeo Echo-1040, 207.
So that means I would travel along Alpha until I hear in my right ear, and depending on which way you're traveling, Bravo travels east out of the main area and Alpha travels west. So if you're traveling east on Bravo, usually you turn left onto the runways and the taxiways. They're usually the opposite. So if I was going to 16 right now, I would have to travel to Romeo, turn right onto Romeo, which would be north-south, which would actually be north, so I would turn to 0 degrees or 360. I would then travel to the end of that and then turn left onto Echo, which would travel west again, and then I would have to turn to the south at 160 degrees to get onto the runway. I hope that makes sense, because it is very important that you understand that when you get into the bigger area. But right, so we know we only have to travel along Alpha and then turn right onto the runway.
Entrance 34:Alpha-100, 550.
And it's quite a ways down, because I'm currently at
700 parking in front of the hangar. 50 parking in front of the hangar.
Well, actually, it's not too far. It's only about 200, whatever.
700 parking in front of the hangar.
It's about 150 from where we are now in the coordinates on the airport. So we're not going to get up too fast to get to there. So I might get up to 10 kilometers an hour when we're going to there, and then I can show you as we're getting to it. As soon as I hit Alpha, though, because I'm in the main area right now, as soon as I hit the Alpha taxiway, I'll call the tower and get permission to get on the runway. So let's get out of there.
Edit.
I hope that all makes sense. It can get very confusing, but once you do understand it, it's very easy to remember. So right, let's get ready to taxi out, and then I'll get permission, and then we'll do some more explaining once I get onto the runway. So we'll turn our park brake off. Park brake off.
Parking brakes off.
Okay, so now we're going to start taxiing, and then when I get to 10 kilometers an hour, I'm going to choke the engine. You'll have to find out what the key is to choke the engine. I've got a rough idea what it is, but I'm not going to even guess it. So go into the help section with Alt H for Harry. Go down to the engines, and then arrow across to open the list, and then arrow down until you hear choke engines. That will tell you. Basically what that does is it chokes the engines off at the current rev you're doing for that speed, and you won't go above or below that speed. Very important to understand that as well as setting your engines to idle for landing and all that sort of stuff. So right here, I'm now going to start moving by pressing the keys for the throttle. You'll have to find those out as well. I'm not going to tell you what they are because I could tell you the wrong thing. So I'm going to start taxiing, and then I'm going to choke the engines at 10. So here we go.
2, 3, 5, 8,
Alpha.
10, 12, choke off 12.
Now we're a little bit fast, but that's
Alpha.
fine. As you can hear, we're approaching Alpha.
Alpha.
We're not on Alpha until that beep stops.
Alpha.
72 kilometers, male Bila/Partisans, 6 hours, 33
Alpha.
minutes.
And you can check your speed by pressing
Alpha.
R.
12.
Right, I'm going to call the tower and get permission.
Combo box. Enter dash asking for permission to enter the runway. Enter. Edit.
SK603, you're permitted to enter the runway.
621, 619 Alpha.
Right, I'm just going to pay
614
attention
Alpha,
because
12.
it's just down
607 Alpha.
from here.
603 Alpha.
34.
Now we're going to enter the runway.
200, 300, 321.
34.
So we're going to
330.
turn to 340.
333.
34.
336. 330, 340. 343.
34.
341. Throttle preset 0. 340.
34.
Now I've just stopped where I'm at
34.
because I don't want to I don't want to get on the runway just yet.
34.
I was actually expecting the taxiway to be before the runway, but it wasn't. It's actually after. So to get to Romeo, you've got to go past. But you did hear, as I was approaching the runway, the sound was in my right ear on the headphone. Very important you wear headphones when you're playing this game because you need the direction. So it said 34, and the sound was in my right ear, and you heard the beeping. Now, it did beep a few times before it actually told me the runway. When you get into larger planes, you do have to start turning as soon as you hear the beep. So with these smaller planes, they turn very quickly. So again, I approached, I heard the beeps. It then told me runway 34. So I quickly turned right to 340 degrees, and which is now the direction I'm facing.
340.
So I'm about to go onto the runway. I've got permission to go onto the runway, and then I'm going to stop, and then we'll set the plane up to take off. But if I had to go to 16, I would have had to travel past runway 34 to the other end of this taxiway, Alpha, and turn right onto Romeo. So it's past this runway. Sometimes they're before, sometimes they're after. So right, let's just quickly throttle up again and move on to the runway.
0.234, choked off 5.
I'll just do it slowly.
34.
See, until that
34.
beeping stops, we're not
Runway
on the
3416.
right.
Throttle preset 0.
Now we're on the runway. You can check that by pressing your buttons to find out where you're located, your longitude, latitude. I have them on my controller, which is X and Y for me.
102 runway 3416.
So see, it tells me I'm at 102 and I'm on runway 3416,
555 runway 3416.
and that's my east-west.
102 runway 3416.
That's my north-south. Now I check my direction again.
340.
I'm facing 340 degrees, and that's the correct way. Now, when you find out what your longitude, latitude keys are, you can double press them to find out how far the end of the runway is, the opposite end. So if I double press my X key,
1,000 meters.
it's 1,000 meters to the other end of the runway. And if I double press my Y,
5 meters.
I've traveled 5 meters onto the runway. So I'm 5 meters on the runway, and I have 1,000 meters left to take off. Now this plane takes off in 380 meters, so I'll definitely get off before the end of the runway. But that's how you check all that sort of stuff. Now, I have to get the plane ready to take off, so we'll set the flaps. Set the flaps.
Set flap position. Set flap position edit. 1.
So we know
Enter,
they have
edit.
to be set to 1.
Flaps set.
Right, my flaps are set. I'm parked on the runway, ready to go. Now I need to get permission to take off. Don't take off without permission, so F1 to bring up the tower.
Combo box. Enter dash asking for permission to enter the runway.
I already had permission to enter. Now I'll just scroll down until I find permission to take off.
Plan dash I want to change the repair dash I need repairs. Runway dash asking for runway takeoff dash asking for takeoff clearance.
There we go. Asking for takeoff clearance. I press enter.
Enter. Edit.
SK603, you are cleared to take off.
Okay, we're cleared to take off. Now, I'll give you quickly the way I take off. So basically, I will set the throttles to full, which is 90%. Never go to 100%. I'm going to do that when I do turbo mode to get to the next airport quicker. But you always set the throttles to full throttle, which is 90% for takeoff. Changes in other planes. When you get further down, you've got modes. But for this plane, there's no modes. I've got my flap set, so I'll set the throttles to full. I will then press the R key repeatedly, not fast, just to keep checking my speed as I build up speed. And when I get to above 129 kilometers an hour, I will press and hold my shift key and press the down arrow once. We'll put my plane's angle at 10 degrees. You can press the arrow key without the shift and that'll go up in 1 degree increments, or you can press and hold the shift and down and that will go up 10 degrees. So it goes up in 10 degree increments. Same as turning left and right, that goes in 10 degrees or 10% for shift and the arrow, or 1 degree for just pressing the key by itself. So that's very important to know. But again, I'll go down the runway checking my speed. When I get to above 129, I'll press and hold the shift, press the down arrow once to get it to 10 degrees, and then I'll take off. And then I'll do a few other things. I'll set the plane into a different mode for the actual flight, which will turn off my landing lights and my strobe lights and everything for taxiing, and it'll pull the landing gear in if the plane has landing gear. I don't think this one does. I think this one's got fixed landing gear. And then you've got to remember to set your flaps back to 0 or they may get damaged in flight. So you do that all after you're successfully off the ground, whilst listening for the tower to get more direction. So right, we're ready to go. The first thing I do is I always do this routine. I check my direction.
340.
And I'm on runway 34, so 340 degrees is correct. I check my flaps to make sure that they're set by pressing my speed key.
0 flaps at 1.
See, it says I'm doing 0 and my flaps are set to 1. I check my fuel.
600 liters.
We haven't burned any fuel even though we've been idling this whole time. And that's about it. So we're ready to go. So we've got permission to take off. So let's get in the air and then we'll move on to the next stuff. Full throttle.
Throttle preset 4. 9 flaps at 1. R. 17 flaps at 1. R. 32 flaps at 1. R. 49 flaps at 1.
Just keep checking
65 flaps at 1. R. 82 flaps at 1. R. 98 flaps at 1.
Getting there.
113 flaps at 1. 123 flaps. 131 flap.
Up we go. Shift and down once. That sound you can hear is me being above the runway, and that's how you know when to
Takeoff
land and
successful.
everything like that. So we're in the air. So now I'll turn everything off. Flight mode.
Echo. Safety
Flight
zone.
mode.
Landing lights off. Taxi lights
Out of
off.
airport.
Flight mode is set.
SK603, climb to
Enter, edit.
altitude 81.
See, he's told me to go to altitude
Flaps set.
81, which is 810. So we're going to do that now
452. 472.
Quickly.
492.
because I've got to change direction
560, 581,
to
602,
approach the
622,
airport.
644, 665, 686, 707, 734, 761, 782, 804.
SK603, turn 2357.
He will tell you a direction, but it could be incorrect. So I'm going to travel to the actual direction of the airport. I do that by pressing the button. You'll have to find out what button it is, but it's A on my key on my controller, and it tells me what direction I need to be traveling.
284, 29 right at 9.
So I need to be at 29 to the right at 9 degrees. So this plane has automatic direction, so Set course.
Set course. Set course. Set it. 9.
I'm going to set it to 9 degrees.
Enter.
And
Edit.
press enter and the plane will turn
350.
automatically. I don't have to turn it.
0.
See, when it gets there, you hear that
1
sound.
right at 10.
Now I've got to go to 10. Set course. Set course.
Set course. 1. 0. 10. 10.
Rather than try and fight with the stick, I've just told it to do that.
Dead ahead of 10. 66 kilometers. Male Belis / Partisans. 13
Now,
minutes.
I'm not going to go in turbo mode because I want to explain things.
287.
We're doing 287 kilometers an hour, so
66 kilometers. Male Belis / Partisans. 13 minutes.
we're going to be there in 13 minutes. So I just want to explain a few things. Now, that auto course, you need to know what your auto course button is to press to set that. Now, basically, you can actually then type in the degrees you want to turn to and then press enter. But there is a new thing that started recently. You can actually put in the banking angle. Now, never go above 25 degrees, but if I've got to do a large turn, I will tell it to turn to whatever degrees it is, then I will put a comma, always a comma, that's the only thing that works, and then the degrees I want to turn at. So if I want to turn bank at 25 degrees to turn quickly, I'll type in 25 and then press enter. You can do the same for changing altitude. I'm pretty sure this has auto altitude. Let me just check. Set altitude.
Set altitude. Set altitude. Edit.
Yep, it
Escape.
does.
Edit. Escape.
So I can actually type in the altitude I want.
61 kilometers. Male Belis 208 704 above ground. 825.
So if I want to change my altitude, set altitude,
Set altitude. Set altitude.
I'll just
edit.
change it to 700 meters above. Now this is above sea level, not above ground.
7. 0. 0.
And then I press enter,
700. Enter. Edit.
and you'll hear the planes now descending. That dlunk noise is to tell you that your plane's doing something.
48.099. Dead ahead of 10. 745/700 auto.
See, we're going down very slowly. We're only going down at 6 degrees. If I had typed a comma and 10, I would have went down faster.
699.
So went down 1 meter below.
579 above ground.
But that's fine. So that's how you do it. But you don't get that in the Cessna 152. You only get that in these planes and above. So that's called auto altitude and auto course or auto direction. It's not. Don't confuse it with autopilot. Once you set the direction, once it gets there, it cuts out, and then that's
56 kilometers. Male Belis
So
/
I'm
Partisans.
going
11
to
minutes.
switch to the tower of the airport that I'm going to. So I'm going to press Alt Enter for my destination airport.
Alt enter. Combo box. Pilot Roderberg SKO.
Scroll
Private
down
Airways
until I
EPT,
find out
public
what the
without
radio
maintenance services. Height
frequency
above
is.
sea dash difficulty (1).
And then I'm going to check some
Approach
other
control
things.
123.5.
Right, so I'm going to change my radio frequency.
Enter. Escape. Edit.
Set radio frequency.
Set frequency. Set 1, 2, 3, 105. Enter. Edit.
Right, won't talk to me because I'm not in range. I've got my range set to 45, but I want to check the safe altitudes around this airport. So I press Alt and Enter again.
Alt enter.
get
Combo
to the
box. Pilot Roderberg
destination
69
airport.
left paren 1 right paren.
When you're near your airport or at your airport, it's Control Shift Enter. So I'm going to tab to the descent map.
Combo box. Descent map.
Right. So now I'm going to scroll down and check a few things out. Most important one is the safe altitude directly around the airport, which is the first one you come to.
Height above sea dash level 180. Same altitude. Safe circle 0.1 kilometers.
So it's 0.1 kilometers. That's pretty scary, but we're reasonably safe around here. So that's, and then I'm going to check the 2 kilometer safe altitude.
2 kilometers. Safe altitude 278 meters, which is 96 meters above ground.
See, so I've got to be above 96 meters above the ground when I'm at 2 kilometers. Now just remember, it may be clear in front of you, but that's a safe altitude circle. So somewhere around that circle, there's something just around 98 meters high. So if you just do a circle around, you will run into it if you're below that.
5 kilometers. Safe altitude 497 meters, which is 315 meters above ground.
So at 4 kilometers, you have to be above 350. See, this is very important that you know this.
47 kilometers. Male Belis / Partisans.
Now,
9 minutes.
another thing you can do is check anything directly ahead of you at your altitude. So I'm going to get out of this
Escape. Edit. Escape.
and just be on the dashboard, and then you'll have to find out what the key is, but I'm just going to find out what the nearest object is. Nearest object.
67 kilometers. Vertical bar. Stavani 709 meters. Vertical bar 13 minutes.
So see, in 67 kilometers, there's something at the same altitude as me. I would run into it if I kept flying that, but my airport is only
45 kilometers, Mail Belis / Partisans, 9 minutes. Mail
45.
Belis / Partisans, approach control.
SK603. Welcome to the airspace of our airport.
right. So it's very important that I contact him back now and get my runway assignment so I can line up with it.
Combo box. Approach dash asking for approach, break dash aborting landing. Land dash asking for landing. Runway dash asking for runway assignment.
We need a runway assignment first.
Enter. Edit.
SK603. You've been assigned runway 07 right.
Ooh, so this one's got two. This is a bit different. You won't have to do this, but I have to. So
42 kilometers, Mail Belis / Partisans, 8 minutes.
So I need 07 right. So I'm going
Escape.
to go to the waypoints.
10.
Actually, I'm going to turn to 7 degrees. So, no, that's 70 degrees. So I'm going to, so it's 07, so add a 0, that's 70. So to land, you have to be on the course of 70 degrees. I'm currently at 10 degrees. So if I wanted to do a turn, I would have to turn now and head around to 70 degrees. That takes a long time. I do it a little bit differently. I get the waypoint for the airport, and then I approach that. I then fly away from the airport, turn around and go back. So I'm going to press Alt-Enter to get the airport up
Alt
again.
Enter. Combo box.
And then I'm going to go Tab to the descend,
Combo box.
Tab
Waypoints.
to the waypoints. Then I'm going to find runway 7, and I'm going to select the furthest waypoint.
7A left, 38 kilometers. 7B left, 36.
Right, so there's
7B
only
left,
7B,
36
so I
kilometers,
press
7 left,
Save,
right,
spacebar to set that as my destination.
Destination set.
And now I get
Escape,
out of
and
that,
escape.
and I find out what way I've got to fly to get.
8 left at 2.
So it's 8 left at 2 degrees. So let's change to that. Set course.
Set course 2.
I'm only at 10 degrees, so I'm going to
Enter. Edit.
just let it turn slowly. We're already there.
2. Dead ahead at 2.
Dead ahead at 2,
33 kilometers,
and it's
76
33 kilometres away. So what I'm going to do, you'll hear that noise off to the left. That's to do with the maps. That is actually a hill or something to the left, which you could run into. I feel safe because it's sort of off to the left and behind. So that's fine. And we know there's nothing in front of us for a while. Nearest object.
minutes. 62 kilometers vertical bar, zip cov 714
it's
meters vertical
62
bar, 12
kilometers.
minutes.
But we can also do the safe altitude. There is a key to check your safe altitude. So let's do that now. Safe altitude.
15 kilometers, safe altitude 515 meters, which is 386 meters above ground, dash Nitra dash LZENI.
That's not for our airport, that's for another airport.
482 above
But
ground.
we're above that anyway, so that's fine.
29 kilometers, 76
So we've got
minutes.
29 kilometres until we get to this waypoint. Now let me just explain how I do this. So that waypoint is about 5 kilometres from the end of the runway. So, but because I'm approaching at a weird angle, I'm going to fly to that, and then I'm going to go away from the airport, directly away from the runway. I'll find out the degrees in a moment, but I'm going to fly directly away until I'm about 10 or 12 kilometres out. Then I'm going to turn back and get to 70 degrees and land. So let me find out what angle I need to fly away at, which will be the opposite end of the runway. So I'm going to go to the airport that I'm landing at by Alt-Enter. That's the destination.
Alt-Enter, combo box.
And then I'm going to scroll down and find out the
Public
runways.
without height above seat difficulty, approach control colon.
Arrow
Airport
down.
description colon. Runways 2.
See, it's got 2 runways.
Runway 07R 25L left, ran 1,100 meters right.
And
correct.
that's the one I'm landing at, 07R. And the
Runway
opposite end
07R
is
25L left, ran 1,100 meters right.
25.
Correct.
So when I get to this waypoint, I'm going to turn to 250 degrees and fly directly away from it. Because it's 225, add a 0.
Entrance 07R colon delta dash 200, 100. Entrance 25L colon delta Sierra Yankee dash 574,
Right. So they're
1,100.
the ways
Entrance
to get
07R
off.
colon delta dash 200,
So
100.
I'm going to be landing on 7, and I'm going to get off on 25 because I'm going to travel all the way down the
Entrance
runway.
25L colon delta Sierra Yankee dash 574, 1,001. Entrance 25L colon delta Sierra Yankee dash 574, 1,130.
Delta Sierra Yankee.
Entrance 25L colon delta Sierra Yankee dash 574, 1,130. Escape.
That's
Escape.
strange. I've got to find that out in a minute.
21 kilometers dead ahead of 2. 21
We've got
kilometers.
21
74
kilometres, so let's just do another thing at the
Alt-Enter,
airport
combo box.
and
Pilot
find out
Barberg 69
where
left, Paren 1 right, correct.
the parking area is.
SKO Piper LLC. Public
It's
with high
right
different
after
approach.
all the
Airport
runways.
runway entrance surface runway 07L20 entrance 0 entrance 25R colon delta surface colon grass. Hangar south.
They're grass, and the hangar is to the south. That's really strange. Normally it's southeast or west, so I've just got to travel to the end of Delta and then I'll probably be in the parking area. We'll find out when we get there, I guess. I haven't had an airport like this for a long time, so this could be a learning curve for you as well. So Delta travels north-south. Direction of Delta?
Delta is a main taxiway which runs north-south.
Yep, so when I get to off that, I travel to the south and I'll travel into the parking area, obviously.
Escape. Edit.
Right, so let's see how far we got to go.
16 kilometers, 73 minutes, 288.
Right, so we got 16 kilometers until we get to here. Now in these planes, you can only have one destination set at a time. So my airport is no longer in my computer. So when I get to this waypoint, I've got to reselect the airport as the destination so I can get back to know how far away it is. I'll do that once I turn to 250 degrees. I'll show you that when we get
14
there.
kilometers, 72 minutes.
And I do that with the auto direction. I don't try and turn it with the stick because it can be a little bit tricky. So when I get a little bit closer, I'm going to type that into the auto altitude, and then when I go over the waypoint, I'm going to press enter, and it will turn to 250 degrees and fly away from the airport.
12 kilometers, 72 minutes.
So still going. I'll just double check what runway I'm going to land on, because when you got to land on two runways and there's a left and a right, there's a thing called ILS. You don't have it in the Cessna. It's called Instrument Landing System. This lines you up with the two runways. I'm helping you out a bit early with this one because that's in the next tutorial. You need to learn how to use ILS to land. Because the runways are on the same angle, you have to actually point that little point degrees off to the correct runway. Otherwise you'll land straight down the middle of the two of them. So you can't turn to like I can't turn to 70.1 or 70.2. But when you connect to ILS, it will turn the 2 degrees. So it's called a runway list, and you select the runway you're going to land on. So when I select it, I will select runway 07 right, and then it will point my plane slightly off 70 degrees to go to that runway. So I'll show you that once I get ILS connected. So you will need to know, but this isn't till the next plane, which is the Beechcraft Bonanza. You don't have to do this. You can still connect to ILS in the Piper to land on the normal runway, so I suggest you do it. It makes it a lot easier. You don't have to panic when you're coming into land.
5.7 kilometers,
Right,
71
so,
minutes.
I've got lots to explain, but yeah, so you get the runway list up, you select the runway you're going to land on, you press enter, and then that will lock you in. Once you're locked in, don't touch your direction keys or it unlocks it. You can do your altitude, but don't do your direction. So right, I'm going to enter 250 into the auto direction. Set course.
Set course, 25990.
And it's quite a turn, so I'm going to put in a comma.
250, comma.
And
2,
25
5.
degrees, 25 on the angle.
2.7 kilometers, 70
Right,
minutes.
now when we get there, you can't type this in early if you're using the keyboard because you can't press the R now or the direction key to find out where you are, but because I'm using the controller,
1.8 kilometers,
I can still check
1.7
it.
kilometers, 70 minutes.
But all you have to do is wait until you
4
hear
right at 6, 1.4
that
kilometers,
waypoint
70 minutes.
reached.
1.2 kilometers, 70, 1.2 kilometers, 70 minutes.
As soon as you hear waypoint reached, then press enter. if you're
0.8
waiting
kilometers,
for that.
70 minutes. 0.6 kilometers, 70 minutes. 0.5 kilometers, 70 minutes.
This is us approaching that waypoint.
Destination
300,
reached.
300,
There we go, we've reached the destination.
200, 200, 200, 250.
Okay, I just turned to 250 degrees. Now you have to reset your airport as your destination. So Control F8.
Combo box. Slovakia Mail Bila /
And
Parzansk
the nearest
-LPT
airport
left
is the
around
one
6
we're landing at,
kilometers,
so I
179
press
left 1 minute
spacebar
right
to
correct.
select it.
Destination set. Edit.
And now I can press and check where it is.
6.8 kilometers Mail
It's
Bila
6
/
kilometers
Parzansk 1
behind
minute.
me
7.0 kilometers Mail Bila
because
/ Parzansk 1
waypoint
minute.
B is 5 kilometers out from the airport. Waypoint A is about 2.5 kilometers. They're what you use to line up with the runway from a long way out.
7.8 kilometers Mail Bila / Parzansk
So,
1 minute.
I'm going to keep going away from the airport until I get about 11 or 12 kilometers. I'm then going to get permission to approach, and then when I get my permission, I'm going to turn back to 70 degrees. So I'm going to do it again with the auto course. I'm going to turn back to 70 degrees and then line up for the runway. I won't be exactly at the runway when I turn back to it though, so I have to do a little bit of adjusting here and there.
9.9 kilometers, male Belis / Partisans, 2 minutes.
So, and to do that, you've just got to turn a little bit off until it gets to the right angle.
10 kilometers, male Belis / Partisans, 2 minutes. 11 kilometers, male Belis
Right.
/ Partisans, 2
So I'm
minutes.
going to get permission to get approach.
Combo box. Approach dash asking for approach clearance. Enter. Edit.
SK603. You can begin approach.
Right, so we're
11
allowed to
kilometers, male
approach.
Belis, 12 kilometers, male Belis /
Right, so
Partisans, 2
now I'm
minutes.
going to set the course and turn around and go back to it. Set course.
Set course.
Now
Set
I'm
course.
setting
edit.
it to 70 degrees because that's where we're the runway angle. We're on runway 07 right,
7. 0.
and I want to turn quickly, so
7, comma. 2. 4.
that'll do 24 degrees. So that's the bank angle. Don't go above 25 or you may stall.
24, 230, 200, 200, 200,
Quickly turning back.
100, 100, 100, 100, 100, 100, 100, 198, 87,
See it
76,
turn.
70.
Very
13
quickly.
kilometers, male, 1 left at 69.
See, we're not quite on it. We're one left at 69. So I'm going to turn slightly to the left until it gets on to 70 degrees.
6 right at 69, 58, 12 right at 69. 12 right at 69, 12 right at 69.
I'm facing away
13
from
right
it.
at 70.
Right, we're now at 70, so I'm going to
61,
go back
3
to
right
it.
at 70. 7, dead ahead at 70, dead ahead at 70.
Right, we're lined up.
12 kilometers, male, Belis
We're
/
12
Partisan,
kilometers
288.
We're going fast, so what I'm going to do now, when I get to about 10 kilometers, I'm going to idle the engines and start slowing down and get ready to land. So I'm going to set my flaps to 3, do my landing mode, get my wheels down and all that if I
10
need.
kilometers, male, Belis / Partisans, 2 minutes.
I'm pretty sure this plane's going to slow down quite quickly, so we'll get there.
Throttle preset 0. 9.8 kilometers, male, Belis /
Landing
Partisans,
mode.
2 minutes. 9.6 kilometers, male,
lights
Belis /
on.
Partisans, 2
Landing
Landing
minutes.
lights and
on.
taxi lights are now on.
Yep,
Please keep preparing
as
for
I
landing.
thought.
When you are at almost
No-
landing speed,
no
set the
landing
flaps to
gear.
optimal landing
9.1
setting.
kilometers, male,
And
Belis
make sure your landing gear is down.
Now, stall speed
215.
is 139,
207.
so I'm going to set the flaps when I get under 200. Set the flaps,
Set flap 3.
and it was for 3, so...
171.
Right, I'm going to set the
Enter,
flaps
edit.
so they're down before I get to that 139. Now I'm going to quickly check
Flaps
my
set.
stall speed at that. So that's
Control
Alt
enter. Combo
Control
box.
Enter
Pilot
for
log.
my thing.
Combo box. Technical data.
Technical
Stop
data
Flaps 1 : flaps 2 : flaps 3 : 109 kmph.
109, so I've got to be above that.
116. 100.
Speed low.
Shut off dash throttle
Fatal
preset
stall
2.
imminent.
113 flaps at
I've
3.
got to turn that off.
Control
Stall
shift E.
indication off.
That means you were close to stall
113 flaps at
speed.
3.
See, I'm at 113, but that's still a little bit fast. I'm going to get down a little bit slower. You need that to...
Throttle preset 112. 111. 1 choked off dash 109 flaps at 109 flaps at 3.
No, I'm below the speed, so that's a stall.
100. 110 flap 1 choked off dash 111 flaps at 3.
Right,
1 right
111
at
is
7.
good.
527 above 527
Now we'll
above
check
ground.
the safe altitude
6.7 kilometers.
and we'll
male,
start
Belis /
heading down.
Partisans 3. 1 right at 70.
Safe
70,
altitude.
dead ahead at 70. 17 kilometers descent to 214 meters with dead ahead at 70.
Right, we can get
Dead ahead
down.
at 70. 1 right at 70. 70. 1 right at 70. 70. Dead ahead at 70. Dead ahead at 70.
Right,
6.2
we're dead
kilometers.
ahead.
Male B 111 flaps
Now,
at 3. Dead ahead at 70.
You
111 flaps at 3.
can't connect to ILS
Transient
until
523 above
you
6.0
are 5
kilometers.
kilometers
6.0
out.
111 flaps at 3. 5.9 kilometers. Male
once
Belis
you're
/ Partisans 3
5
minutes.
kilometers, you can connect to ILS.
5.8 kilometers. Male Belis 111 470 410 above ground.
Safe altitude.
17 kilometers descent to 214 meters, which is 32 meters above ground. Dash
Right,
309,
so I can go down to
380, 382, 376, 111,
100
360,
meters,
350,
150
347, 340, 5.3 kilometers, 323
I'm
above,
gonna set-
350, dead ahead at 70, 299 above, 289, 200, 200, 200, 200, 200, 200, 200, 5.1 kilometers, 100, 145
Right, I'm gonna
above,
set the
5.0
ILS.
kilometers, dead ahead at 70.
You have to be facing the runway. So, runway list. Runway list.
Combo box, 07L,
Right, so that's 07L, but I'm landing on 07R. So I've got an arrow
07R,
and then press enter.
enter, edit,
Now I'm locked into ILS. You press your button and it will tell you.
69.6 aisles,
See, I'm at 69.6 ILS,
dead ahead at 70,
but I'm still at deadhead 70.
4.2 kilometers, male Belis,
So,
141 above ground.
The ILS is turning me slightly to one angle to land on that runway. Otherwise, I'd land straight in between left and right
241
runway.
above ground, 200,
So I've gotta keep
230,
coming down.
203.7 kilo, 218 above, 209 above, 203 above
I want
ground.
to get down to 100 meters above the
181,
ground.
170, 160, 160, 153, 147 above, 136, 127, 119, 143.4 kilometers, male dead ahead at 70, 111 flaps at
Don't
3,
touch your direction now that you're connected to ILS.
69.6 aisles,
If you touch it, that will unlock it.
3.1 kilometers, male Belis / Partisans, 1 minutes,
Safe altitude.
17 kilometers descend to 214 meters, which is 32
Yep,
meters above ground.
so
Dash runway 07
That's
dash
the
mail
17
partisans
kilometres.
dash
So we're
SVPT.
safe at this height, but I'm going to go down a bit lower when I get
2.7 kilometers
closer.
mail partisans 1 minute.
So when I get within about 1 kilometre, I'll go down to about 60 or 70 metres above. And then when I get to within 300 metres of the airport, I will go down to below 20 metres, just below 20 metres, and land. So I will then, once I hear that beep sound for the runway, I will then stall, turn my engines to idle till it stalls and wait for it to land.
2.0 kilometers mail partisans 69.111 flaps at 3.
So we're doing 111, we're above the stall speed. We choke the engine off at that, and it won't change until I change it by pressing the throttles or by pressing the idle speed.
1.5 kilometers mail partisans 0 dead ahead at 70.
Safe altitude.
17 kilometers descend to
No,
214
it
meters.
hasn't
1.3
changed.
kilometers mail partisans 1.3 kilometers mail partisans
when I get
0
to 1
minutes.
kilometre,
1.2 kilometers mail partisans 0 minutes.
I'll go-
1.1 kilometers mail partisans 0
Right, I'm
minutes.
going to go down to
109,
60.
105, 99 above 92 above ground. 88 above grade 81 above ground. 75 above 70 above ground. 69 above ground.
Nearest object.
8.1 kilometers vertical bar Malay Standing 248 meters vertical bar
So
4
we had to
minutes.
bypass this airport.
0.7 kilometers
You'd
mail
want to take off,
partisans
get
0
up,
minutes.
because there is something on the other
64
side.
above ground. 0.5 kilometers mail 0.5
Right.
kilometers mail
Once I get to 300
0.4 kilometers mail
metres,
0.4 kilometers
0.3.
mail 0.4 kilometers 0.3 kilometers mail
Right, I'm going to go
partisans 0
down to
minutes.
below
62 above
20.
56 above 49 above 43 above
Airport.
ground. 34 above 30 above ground. 23 above 19 above 17 above 15 above ground.
That's enough. We wait for the runway now.
Delta. Runway 07
Runway
25
down.
L.
Set your engines to idle.
Landing
Plane will
successful.
stall, and we're on the ground.
Destination dash mail destination 261 902 meters.
The runway's still
52
902
flaps at
metres
48
long,
flaps at
so
45 flaps at 3. 42 choke
I'm
off
going to
dash
choke
level
the
40
engines
flaps
off
at 3.
because I've got to fly to the
40
other
flaps
end,
at 3.
and I've choked off at 40. So when I get closer to the end of the runway, I will then slow down more so I can turn onto the taxiways.
718 meters. 701 meters.
So to do that, I'm double pressing the button that tells you your longitude and latitude.
463 meters.
I'm 463 metres along the runway,
592 meters.
and I've got 592 metres left of the runway to turn onto the taxiway.
530 meters.
So when I
511
get
meters.
to about 300 metres, I'll idle the engines again, and then I'll choke them off at about 20 kilometres an hour.
444 meters. 427 meters.
Just keep checking. Set the flaps.
Set flap position. Set 0.
I don't need the
Enter.
flaps,
Edit.
so I'm going to turn them off.
332 meters.
Flaps set.
314 meters. 301 meters. Throttle
Right.
preset 0. 37.
Keep checking my
33,
speed until I
31,
get down to
30,
about 25.
28. 25. Choked off
That'll
dash throttle
do.
24.
Now we're choked off. If you turn too fast and your speed's too fast, you will crash.
192 meters. 182
So
meters.
if your turn angle and your speed equal 80, that's a crash. So if you're turning at 40 degrees and your speed is 40, you will crash.
Yankee,
Right, so I'm going to turn
Yankee.
direction of Yankee.
Yankee travels north-south.
Right, so I'm going to
Yankee.
turn right onto Yankee. It's not telling me, but I'm going to
Yankee.
turn right onto Yankee.
73, 83, 90, 100, 100,
I'm going
100,
to turn to
100,
180
141,
degrees.
151, 160, 170,
25
180.
L.
South.
Right, we're heading... Right, now we're going to head to the next taxiway, which I'm not sure what it is. It'll tell me in a moment.
377 meters. 369 meters.
We've got 369 metres until then. Just double press that button and it tells you how far you've got to travel.
406 meters. 316 meters.
I hope I went the right way. Normally it tells you which way to turn at the end of the taxiway if you need to know. So I'm hoping the fact that I've turned right, I'm safe. I may end up in the field here. I don't know.
341 meters. 234 meters. 24.
I don't know. So we'll just wait and see. If it doesn't, I'll
182 meters.
tell me another taxiway. I'm going to quickly turn around and go back the other way.
151 meters.
So be prepared for a sharp right turn
129 meters. South.
because we'll have to head back to the north, which is at 0 or 360.
178 meters. 173 meters. 165 meters. 160 meters. 152 meters. 147 meters. 140 meters. 136 meters. 131
No, I'm
meters.
turning around.
200, 20, 30, 50. 30, 13, 13, 0 north.
That was very rude of them not to tell me I should turn left at the end of that runway. It should have told me I needed to go left.
640 meters, 1,162 Yankee.
So I'm now travelling the opposite way on Yankee, because I never heard it tell me to turn onto the next taxiway. As you approach the next taxiway, it will tell you it'll make the sound in your headphones for which way it is. Now these small planes will turn around. If I was in a large plane, there's no way I was doing that. I would have went into the grass and I would have got a penalty.
481 meters.
So I'm glad I was in a small plane anyway. So now we're heading back the opposite direction. We're heading north, and then we should get the next taxiway, which I'm not sure what it is.
403 meters.
I can quickly check. Let's check by going to the airport.
Shift enter. Combo S pipe L's public pipe diffic approach. Airport description. Runways 2. Runway 07R. Entrance 07R colon Delta. Entrance 25L colon Delta Sierra Yankee dash 574. 1130. Entrance 07R colon Delta dash 200. 100. Entrance 25L colon Delta Sierra Yankee dash 574.
That's the runway we just landed on.
25L.
We just... Oh no.
25L.
Yeah. That's the opposite end to the 7R.
Entrance 25L colon Delta Sierra Yankee dash 574. 1130.
Delta Sierra Yankee. So we're going on to Sierra next. So we're going to go past 25R in a minute, and then there's 25R.
25R.
So that's the opposite end of what we land at.
25R.
So we're going to be turning onto Sierra at the end of this.
779 meters.
But it still should have told me we would turn left.
24. 749 meters.
Right, so get ready to turn. Where is
18
that?
meters.
Foxtrot.
Oh, that's
300,
Foxtrot.
238.
Foxtrot.
252.
I need to go to 270.
200,
We're
280.
right near the edge. I've just got to wait till it moves back over.
280. 292.
I turned too sharp.
844 Foxtrot. 200, 288. 286.
So I did turn the right way at the other end of the taxiway.
286.
I just didn't give it time to get to it.
280.
Got to get back to 270.
269. 270. 269. 270. 271. 271.
Come
207
on.
west.
Right, we're heading west,
830 meters.
and we're just going to head to the end of this taxiway. So I did turn the correct way. The other end would have been Sierra. See, we're on Foxtrot now, which would be the exit for 7. If you land on 7 left, but we land on 7 right. So when we got to the end of that, it should have told us to turn left and then to come on Foxtrot.
696 meters.
So if I had just waited, I would have heard Sierra and I would have turned right onto Sierra. So I apologise for that, but I was just a little bit worried that I was going to run off on the grass.
24. 603 meters.
But we still got 603 metres to travel down here, and then we'll turn onto Delta, which is at the end of the other end of the runways, and then that will take us to the main area at the end of Delta. So we're going to turn south, which is left, because we're currently travelling at 270. We're going to turn left to 180 to head south along Delta. As you saw, I've got all the taxiways listed on what directions they go, so I know where I've got to turn.
866, 383 meters.
Not far to go now. This is just extended time. I'm sorry about that, but as you can see, sometimes you make mistakes and you get worried that you're doing the wrong thing.
826 meters west.
So we're heading west now,
296 meters.
and I'm going to turn left onto Delta, as I said. Now, most airports will have Alpha Bravo as well, which normally head into the main area, but this one doesn't have it, so we're just going to head off the end of Delta into the main area.
204 meters.
That's why you need to learn and understand how the taxiways work. But we're getting there.
149 meters. 140 meters.
Okay. Now, we're approaching Delta,
Delta.
and as you hear the sounds directly in front of you, do
Delta.
not turn to the left or to the right
Delta.
when you get to that until you're on it.
809
Delta.
meters.
So when you hear it, the beep stop,
Delta.
and it actually, I'm on Delta now, so I turn left.
206, 230, 200, 137, 141, 160, 170, 171,
A little bit close to the edge.
102,
I'll just wait, get away from that. Right,
199,
get back to
190.
180.
180, 174, 181,
These planes are so temperamental.
181, 181, 178, 100, 182, 182, 181, 181, 181, south,
Right, we're now heading south. And if you press your longitude latitude,
643 delta,
tells me I'm on delta.
71 delta,
So
616 delta, 657 meters,
we've got 657 meters to go until we're in the parking area.
626 meters, 365 meters, 593 meters, south,
So when I get into the parking area, I'm just going to shut the engines off and then I can press the brakes. But we didn't have to do that on the runway because it was such a long runway, so you didn't need the brakes. We just slowed down, as you saw.
24,
So I'm doing 24 kilometers an hour, so I will press the brakes, which is either your / key or your minus/hyphen. Now this is the opposite end of the runway.
07L.
See, that's 07L. We're going to go past the
07L.
runway we landed on, which is 07 right.
07L.
Technically, we didn't have to go past these again because we would have come off on
07L.
Sierra, which I'll show you when we go past Sierra.
324 meters,
Here comes runway 07 right. That's the one we landed on.
07R. 07R.
And as you can see, it's off to the left.
07R.
24,
07R.
191 meters,
And the next one will be Sierra, which is the one we should have came off onto Delta.
Sierra.
There it is. That's the one we should have been coming off on.
Sierra.
But I wasn't sure it was there, so my bad.
78 meters,
Sierra.
Rightio, we're now heading into the parking, so I'm going to idle the
Sierra.
engines in a moment and then press the brake.
Parking.
Parking,
throttle preset 0,
engines off, brakes on.
dash, 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 5, dash,
And we're done.
Flight
Finally.
completed.
Hangar.
Sorry about the extra ride that we had to do around the
Hangar.
airport, but we still made it. Let me just let the hangar finish.
Hangar.
flight evaluation
get the
dialog,
flight
edit,
evaluation.
contains text,
So we'll arrow down through that.
blank, successful flight, blank, flight length : 99 kilometers,
99
duration :
kilometers.
34 minutes,
It was 34 minutes in the
points :
air.
0,
No points.
earnings :
because
0,
Training.
minor crashes : 0, penalty points : 0,
No
blank,
penalty points.
blank.
That's it. That's everything. So we're done.
enter, dashboard,
And that's everything. I hope you enjoyed your flight in the Piper Arrow, and I hope you learnt how not to do things at the end, and I hope it makes sense on the taxiways. But all the planes from now on do taxiways, so when you look at the Beechcraft aircraft, that has taxiways as well. So as part of the Blind Gaming Club, I'm Rauderberg69, and we are a group of people that like playing lots of different games. I will put a link to our website in the description of this video. Hope you liked that. I hope you gained valuable information. I'll see you on the next one. Thanks and bye.